That's what we are looking for, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's quite unfortunate because the political characterization of Galamsey is what is providing some kind of a shield for individuals in this enterprise. For me, if we begin to see it as a pure criminal enterprise that has been operated by a criminal cartel, that will give us...
Are they really criminals? Look, because I'm saying this because I've been to a Galamsey site before, and I did that, the last operation, the one that went viral with Hannah Bisiu. You go there, and in fact, some of them came, you know, by just wanted to talk to us in confidence. The point they tell you is, we need the jobs, we need money, you know, and these are people in remote areas. So is it not much more about, you know, survival as against criminality?
Yeah,
what do you think?
I understand, but the very moment you're operating outside the law, that is criminal.
Right.
And you cannot play that poverty card and then sentence people to death. For me, this whole thing, the approach has always been some kind of, it has been quite ineffective. For me, the state has to be very frontal, very radical, because we have all seen the devastating impact of Galamsey in recent times. Going to the mining areas, some of the scenes that we've very often witnessed has been quite unfortunate. So I think in a concerted effort, doesn't matter where you stand across the political divide, we need to be together and brand Galamsey as a criminal enterprise. And whoever that is in should be seen as a criminal. If we begin to approach it in that particular manner, I'm sure we'll be able to make a way. And what makes it worse is the influx of these Chinese who come with sophisticated equipment. And if you go to the mining areas, you realize that these are the very people who are providing the funding. China being a communist, some of these individuals come individually, but they have state backing. So they have a lot of cash. So they can provide all the necessary machinery that is needed for some of these things. I think the state has to be very radical in our approach.
Are you sure that's the way out? Look, for instance, someone going to a Galamsey site may be earning more than 1,000 cedis, even in a day, not a week.
Yes.
If you're going to run, say, responsible community mining or alternative livelihood, how much can a state, for instance, raise for these young ones in those mining areas, as compared to someone who's coming with the dollars, with the cash? They would want to opt for that.
Oh, definitely, definitely. But looking at the devastating impact of it, we need to change the approach. And youth unemployment has been a challenge, and some of us over the years have been speaking about it. There is the need. So we should be thinking of transition. I keep saying that once there are gold in the soil, people will mine. So as a state, we need to adopt different approach, the methodology that will keep the environment safe. These are some of the transitionary approaches that we should be adopting, because over the years, the approach has always been what we see, and the impact has been very devastating. I admit there is poverty and the youth unemployment is on the rise, but that should not justify these acts.
The issue about the 120-day promise to revoke or repeal the LI that permits mining in the forest reserve. For President Mahama, what expectations do you have of him?
I think it should be the same. For me,
because they've missed that timeline already.
Yes.
Repealing the LI.
Yes, and I think repealing that particular act is very necessary because it was a promise that was made to the people of this country. And going a step further to implement some other policies that also make this whole fight a success is what I'm looking at. So I think at this point, prior to the election, one of the conversations that was leading this whole thing was the Galamsey. That was the first time going to a major election. We didn't have economy as the
illegal mining
issue on the table. So I think it is incumbent upon President Mahama because people are looking up to him. What are you doing to stop this menace? And I think he has a responsibility. Whichever way, he has to come up with a way to...
Salam says illegal mining was weaponized by the NDC. Do you believe so?
No. I disagree because the devastating impact was all over the place. We could all see, unless he wasn't around. But if you...
He was he's still the youth organizer.
Obviously politics, because I think the devastating... Across the political divide, everybody was talking. That was the first time we had UTAC and several other people who were outside the political spectrum out there talking about the devastating impact of Galamsey. We had Ghana Medical Association issuing a standing statement to government that unless something is done about the situation, they were going to put down their items and stuff. So it wasn't that the NDC weaponized it. That was the state of affair at play at the time. And we all saw it, and we all spoke against it. That the NDC must rather be admonished to take further steps to end this whole thing. But if we begin to engage in this political characterization, you did this, I did that. We've been chasing Galamseyers from the bush since Rawlings' time. We haven't been successful, you understand? It means that at this point as a country, we need a concerted effort. It doesn't matter where you stand across the political divide. These people should be seen as people who are wrecking our environment, and we must work aside to end it. For me, it has no political colorization.
Indeed, I must point out that we have to move into the next phase of our conversation on the two imminent by-elections. There's one happening just next month, and the other one is happening because of the 8 fallen heroes. We've lost Dr. Murtala Mohammed, Tamale Central, and it's all because of this fight against illegal mining. Of course, unfortunately, we lost them. Now, there was something that the NPP did, which, well, we haven't seen in a long while, the fact that they are not going to contest the elections in Tamale Central. And their explanation, initially, I thought it was just all about the mood of the country, as they stated.
Blaise, are you transitioning?
No, I'll give you the opportunity. I mean, you can tie that into the, because of time, you can tie that into the whole point around illegal mining as well. The reason for which the NPP says they were not going to contest Tamale Central was because of, first of all, what happened were in a period of mourning. And then you go ahead to say that because of how violent by-elections are in this country, you don't feel that you should be partaking in that Tamale. Your thoughts on this election? Do you feel that, the two political parties should just concede? I give you Tamale Central, and then you also take Akwetia, and that's the end of it. We don't even have to do a contest anymore.
No. I think democracy has no room for such compromises. I think the people should be given the opportunity to decide who leads them. I think if you're looking at Akwetia, it's not a safe seat for any of the political parties. This is a seat that has been alternating between the two political parties in recent times, so it is not a particular place one can say, this is a safe seat for me. That is what is going to bring the contest in this whole election. And for me, I am worried about the recent characterization, that is the violence that is taken over by elections in this country. In recent times, we saw what happened at Ayawaso West Wagon, and then the general elections, 2020 and then 2024, and what happened at Ablekuma. That was very embarrassing because where we've come as a country, our journey into a democracy for over 30-something years, the last thing anyone expected was that kind of barbaric act we saw on TV. And we had a situation where the security were just standing idle, where macho men take over the center stage, do their thing. For me, I think it was quite embarrassing, and I've called on the IGP. Fortunately for us, the very individuals who were in the videos were all over, and identifying them.
I think we even saw their...
Yes, identifying such an individual and then prosecuting them was very easy. We need to send a strong message to people out there that violence and some of these acts of vigilantism have no space in our politics. We should give the people of this country the opportunity to decide who leads them, because like my brother rightly said, average Ghanaian is highly enlightened. People are privy to the economic realities they live on a daily basis. So some of these political antics saying this, saying that, at the end of the day, the person will premise the decision on the state of affair in which the person finds himself in the prevailing economic circumstances and the situation. And I think we must respect that. But this act of vigilantism where macho men are smuggling to a place and then at the end of the day, policemen will have to beg the metro men to stop what they are doing. It was quite funny and very embarrassing. For me, Akwetia, we are going to see a contest, but the challenge is that the violence that characterized this whole election that we saw in the past should not happen. The police and any other institutions that are responsible for some of these things should be up and doing and make sure they control
There's a concern about the youth and how we deploy them in elections. Do you feel that political parties should check that? The kind of comments I don't want to use the word inside the youth, but rally their base, their youth base, to come out for them during elections. Don't you feel communication around it should be handled better?
Yeah,
because if you're online and you're a youth leader and you say, oh, there's a challenge at this polling station, I want 500 of you to be there, or I want 20,000 of you to be there.
Yes, such messages very often come with violent connotation, because once you are being deployed to go and do what? You understand? So I think communication in that particular fashion should also be measured in a way that we don't replay the situation we've seen in the past, because violence is one thing everybody is watching out for, because Akwetia, with all know what is at stake. The NPP and the NDC, nobody is willing to let go that particular seat. And I'm sure they will do everything possible to win that particular seat. That is where the security mercenaries should come to play and ensure they provide security proper, just to ensure that the people of Akwatia will be given that particular opportunity to decide who leads them. It's quite unfortunate the gentleman died, but life must continue. But Tamale Central,
yes.
NPP boycotting, yes, I respect that particular decision, but I disagree with them because, you see, emotions have nothing to do with politics. And I think if you read the letter that was issued, I see some undertones of emotions rather than premising this whole decision on something that is scientific. Because when the NDC boycotted Ajuso, the reason that were assigned was that it was close to the main election. So the resources that were going to use to engage in that particular election will be reserved for the main election. And it paid out. I don't know, but to say the circumstances of the person's death, blah, blah, blah. You see, aside those within the party, there are people out there who are also watching the party. This is a party that has lost elections. When you lose the election, you lose connection with the people. People want to see how you rebuild yourself and come back. And people will be worried when you begin to take some of these decisions. So in as much as I respect, I disagree with the decision of boycotting this particular election. Yes, because the Constitution set 3 perimeters for by-elections, or for election itself. Death is one of them. Resignation is one, and then your expiration of your tenure. You understand? Yeah, it doesn't matter how the person died. I think, and we don't always go into election to win or not to win. Sometimes the other aspect is research. You've lost power. You go and test the water to see your credibility. You understand? So, and it also be good for research and other stuff.
Yeah, right. Anyway, that's why we're calling it Prime Insight. It's just the first of it, and I'm grateful to